and that's why we're having these hearings. The process actually works, doesn't it?
Yep.
Okay, very good. So it's good to hear both sides. All right, now we're going to ask Ms. Lesko to go ahead and question the panel. Thank you. 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you all for being here today. My first question is for Mr. Benavides. I'm on your website. It says, your association's website. It says you're dedicated to and governed by independent service and repair professionals. And so you said you don't think the Repair Act is needed, but then you have a person sitting next to you, Ms. Callahan, who thinks it is needed. And so I'm trying to figure out why she thinks that and why your group, which represents independent repair shops, doesn't. I was wondering if you wanted to address some of her concerns. I think her concerns, what she said, if I'm not mistaken, is it cost her money to get this data. Two, that European car manufacturers aren't part of this agreement, and that the agreement is a handshake and she doesn't want to rely on it. I think that's kind of summing it up. And so is this agreement that you have with the car manufacturers, they're still allowed to charge money, right? And the one thing she said that I'd like you to clarify, Mrs. Callahan said, was that, now I lost my train of thought. So if you could just reference what her concerns are, I'd be interested to understand the difference.
So, and it's interesting to hear that person that couldn't get their vehicle serviced in that area. Was it because the shop didn't have access to that information? We don't think that's the case. They probably didn't either want to pay for that information, didn't know how to gather that information, or didn't have the tools and equipment to repair that vehicle. If we have those, we have all the information, right? We're able to gather that information. Sometimes it's hard for us to find, but we find it and it's accessible, right? Sometimes you have to pay for it, sometimes you don't. And that's just the nature of where we work. Is it easier for OEMs to get that information? Yes, because they're dealing with one specific vehicle, right? Sometimes we have to go searching for it longer or pay a subscription fee, but we can gather that information. The other question was?
European car manufacturers aren't part of the agreement. I don't know if Toyota and Honda is or not. Yeah.
They are not, but we
Okay.
are in talks with them, and hopefully they'll come soon. Like I said, Tesla and Rivian just came on, which is a big step for us on the electrical cars,
Okay.
and they understand the importance of that MOU, so they jumped on board as well.
All right, and just so that I get a better understanding of why there's a difference of an opinion, especially since she's an independent repair owner and you represent independent repair shops, are you funded at all by the car manufacturers or car dealers
No,
or anything
ma'am.
like that?
You have to understand that I'm also an independent repair
Okay.
shop. I've been an independent repair shop since 1978. My dad opened the business, second generation owner. We've been in the
Okay.
independent repair facility, and every one of our board of directors on our association is an independent shop owner, either mechanical or collision. So we're all in the vested interest of the independent shops. That's what we do, and that's what I've done all my life.
And I did remember the other question. Ms. Callahan said she thinks that the car owner should own the car data. What are your thoughts on that? Like, why shouldn't they?
I think they should, but it's a complex issue because there's a lot of data, right? Like
Yeah.
Ms. Stingel said, where does that data go, and whoever worked on it last, where does it go, and who owns it, right? And we're fighting that with our collision industry conference. I'm on the data program, and that's what we're fighting with. How do we protect that data? How do we keep that data? Ultimately, it is the customer's data. It's sometimes scary of where it goes.
Okay, thank you. And my second question is for Mr. Brault. Research out of Brigham Young University found 14% of rapes happened during the first meetup arranged through a dating app. What steps should these apps take to protect their users from this type of violence?
Thank you for the question, Congresswoman. And for those victims, no amount of action that a dating app takes can undo that crime. But what they can do to reduce the risk of that is to be more proactive in warning their users about fraudulent activity on the app. So the Online Dating Act that we're talking about today would let them know when someone that they have messaged has been banned from that dating app for fraudulent activity. Most of these apps and websites have things in place to monitor them. We want to make sure that that people are being notified when someone is banned to hopefully prevent horrible instances like the one you just described.
If they're banned, how are they on it?
Well, so they are not banned immediately. Scammers
Okay.
will create multiple accounts.
Right.
They will message a bunch of people, try and get them off onto email or text or something else, so that when they are banned by the service, they already have a number of potential victims on the hook.
How did they identify them if they just keep changing their, their persona?
Right. So I'm not entirely familiar with every anti-scam technology that the dating websites use, but there are certainly signals messaging lots of different people more than anyone normally would for an online dating website user. I would anticipate that that's probably one of the signals that they rely on.
All right, thank you, and I yield back.